Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Sorry, I'm just trying to work out how to get this all happening. Anyway, welcome to the night. We have everyone here, like the artists. We've got, I don't know if you can see. We've got Abby, Julie, and Emma. So we've had a, oh, okay. All right, so now I'm going to try to share my screen with you and start the talk. Which is this one? Okay. Anyway, so welcome, Croissant, to this new project I'm just starting, which is called Veronica Calarco Estron, or We Live with the Land is Other. I'm Veronica Calarco Estron, and it looks like the slides are just going to go their own way. It's a multidisciplinary art exploration and exhibition exploring the idea of we live with the land is other, responding to the history, story of the land, language and land, a sense of place, the environmental and rewilding movements, and the positioning of land by outsiders as other, a visual playground commodity, tourism in Wales. So I'm going to stop for a minute and see if everyone can hear me. Can they hear me? Can you all hear me? Just give me a wave if you can. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue. Sorry, I'm a bit, like not up on Zoom as I should be. The project will use environmental theorists Anne Winston-Spurns and Val Plumwood-Spurns' debates of listening and acknowledging the land's agency to provide a new way to interrogate land's current and historical uses and interrogate artists in Wales' response to the collaborative action between land and language and land, and the diverse people who claim to use the land, from the original inhabitants to incomers to casual tourists. This project is a studio-based research project exploring how contemporary Wales-based artists are creating a visual response to the culture of Wales, especially how it pertains to the linguistic and environmental issues. It will answer the question by Estelle Barrett and Barbara Bolt as to what knowledge can studio-based inquiry reveal that may not be revealed by other modes of inquiry. A question also asked and explored in Professor David Crystal's statement that if we want them, and by them he means the people, to see what the situation is, the artist can help us more than anyone else. So this project isn't your typical research project. It's more an interactive research project. The project has been funded by a Joy Welsh Research Grant and has been conceived, developed and will be led by me, Dr. Veronica Calarco. It is being mentored by Professor Lisa Lewis. Over the next 6 months, artists from all over Wales will participate in retreats at Studio Maylaw and in online discussion workshops. It will conclude with an exhibition held at the School of Art, Aberystwyth University. In June 2020, curated from the work produced by the participating artists. Now I'll give a little bit of background about me. I'm an Australian artist from Gunai country, but I spent over 20 years travelling, working and living all over Australia, mainly in the outback. In the 1990s, I completed a degree in printmaking and a postgraduate degree in weaving at the Institute of the Arts, Australian National University. After university, I worked as a community artist in the ACT and in remote areas of Australia, such as the Kimberleys in northwestern Australia and central Australia. Over the years, I have completed diverse residencies such as Parliament House ACT, where I explored how workers related to the building, and residencies such as Grindle Huts in the Flinders Ranges, Stone Quarry Hill Art Park in upstate New York, and Sorbia House in Adelaide, where I developed my work on language and the notion of country. I first came to Wales in 2004, and then for about eight years, I lived between Wales and Australia. I finally settled more or less permanently in Wales in 2012. I received an A-level in Welsh, of something I'm really proud of, in 2013, and the Dan Lynn James Scholarship to study Welsh in 2014. In 2015, I founded Studio Maylor, an artist residency program, and that's where the retreats for this project are being held, as well as one retreat will be held at Plas Grodfa up on Annis Mon. In 2021, I completed a PhD in printmaking at the School of Art, Aberystwyth University, supervised by Paul Croft and Dr. Lucy Taylor. I am currently teaching printmaking at the Aberystwyth University, and I am a co-director of Aberystwyth Printmakers. So that's me. My PhD titled, This is a Language Warning, sorry, it really wants to skip, was a creative investigation into the visualization of an endangered language realized through the notion of country. It uses a minority language to displace the dominant language with which both languages interact. The endangered language, Gunai Gurnai, is in the process of being awoken, and the minority language, Comrai, was endangered and is still still under threat. The dominant language is English, which, although it could not be fully removed, was displaced from its usual central positioning by a decolonial strategy. Through a process of printmaking, painting, and installation, the visual research and the supporting exegesis aim to contribute to the discussions on language extinction. The notion of country as a visual representation of the language in the land responded to a line from Aros Mai, Wait Here, a poem by John Kerry Hughes, On my Heniaith Anatir, but the old language is still in the earth. As the project developed through 4 steps that discovered and visualized Gunai Gurnai and Comrai, the language moved from being in the land to the land becoming unmuted. The movement of the old language from still being in the land to a language that for me was living again was expressed through a sound and basket installation titled Atir Wedi Dadawi. In the installation, the language moved in and out of the basket, moving around the gallery as the spectator moved. The creation of the installation provided a space in which I began to consider how we live in the land and whether all the clutter around us, we can hear the land. I also want to consider how other people are responding to the land. From these considerations, the idea for this project was conceived. In Welsh, the word gweld means to see. Dwi'n dyweldi, I see you. Gweld also means to perceive, inquire, see fit, understand, examine, and seen, appear. In English, the verb to see also means to perceive by the eye, look about, give or pay attention, imagine as a possibility, form a mental picture, discover, acknowledge or consider something, pay attention, make an investigation or inquiry. When making and presenting art, artists try to perceive by eye, to inquire, to imagine as a possibility, to examine, to investigate, to consider something, to acknowledge, to pay attention. And they also ask viewers to consider and to pay attention. When illustrating what is in front of them, i.e. a landscape, figure or object, the artist is attempting to capture what they saw and felt in the moment and offer the viewer an opportunity to understand what is seen and felt. When creating an artwork or an installation to convey an idea, the artist is challenging both themselves and their viewer to discover, to consider, to pay attention, not only to the work, but also to their deliberation. Simon O'Sullivan, following Deleuze's theory, describes these 2 ways of interacting with an object as a recognition or as an encounter. Recognizing an object confirms our knowledge, beliefs and values, but encountering an object challenges our worldview and interrupts our knowledge system. With this project, the artists and myself will visualise our encounters and acknowledge our recognition of the land in which we live. Throughout the project, the participating artists will discuss how the land is used, experienced and treated. We will see our own interaction with the land and how others are experiencing the land. Okay, so that was a very quick little talk. So now I'm going to open it up. If anyone's got any questions, please ask. Or anyone in the room wants to ask any questions, make any discussion.
Going back to the very early quote from Burns' debate, it was about land uses. What sort of land uses does he refer to?
The use of land can be rewilding, environmental, agriculture, kind of every type of land.
Did you mention the, was it Simon O'Sullivan that you mentioned, Ronnie? Was that the right? I don't know him at all, but you was talking about his comments on object and encounter of objects. I think that's very important, and I think certainly today, with the climate, the ecological issues that are around today, the whole way in which human beings have encountered objects is critical. In some ways, it's been on the one hand, it's been very destructive. It's been very colonial. On the other hand, it's been very responsible in the way in which objects have been encountered. You know, whether they're minerals or whether they're land for agriculture and so on. So I'm quite interested in what you said there about Simon O'Sullivan. I'd like to know a bit more about him, and because I think there is a very interesting link between objects and the current situation we're in, the way human beings are interacting with objects.
Yeah, well, O'Sullivan was following Deleuze's theory, so he was. His kind of research expands on that and about how we can encounter, we can recognise something. So if we see an artwork, we can feel comfortable with it, if it's a landscape or something we really recognise. And with an encounter, we will feel uncomfortable, and we have to work out what that uncomfortable is and what it makes us think. And I think that can happen with the land as well. You can recognise a landscape, but then we can also encounter what is happening with that landscape and how we react to it and what's happening with the environment as well.
I think you mentioned that encountering an object can interrupt our thought flow perhaps and make us stop and reconsider, which was an interesting thing to me, how it can stop us. Was this the same man maybe that Terry was talking about, Sullivan?
Yes, Simon O'Sullivan.
Simon O'Sullivan, he mentioned, I'd be interested to read a book by him or find out something that I can look at.
Yeah, well he's written a book called, sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is, but and he just, throughout the book, he discusses Deleuze's theory and how that relates to art objects. So,
right.
And
he's
in my, sorry?
I was just thinking, he's seeing art objects as objects, so maybe a piece of art is also an object.
Well, it is, but it's also a good way to rethink things. So you might be thinking that like you're seeing that. I mean, there was a thing about Mary Kelly's postpartum document where a curator saw it and thought she knew what it was all about, and then she worked with Mary Kelly, and it is Mary Kelly, isn't it? and develop kind of the whole process of thinking about it, seeing it in a different way. So I think sometimes you can have a recognition moment with an object or a piece of artwork or a piece of landscape, but then the more you look into it, the deeper you delve, the more it becomes an encounter, the more you see how much it can make you think. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this project, is by getting other artists involved, that we start to see beyond just, you know, a recognition of something, that we start to encounter it.
I understand, yeah.
Can I just bring up, it might be off on a tangent here, but we're saying that, or somebody had mentioned that we feel comfortable with landscapes, and then when we encounter an object, we feel uncomfortable. I think that can happen with the landscape as well, not just an object. I think you can have comfortable landscape. There's definitely landscapes that are, from my childhood, there is a particular view that I can't help thinking is etched into my brain. Because when I came to move to my current place, I looked at the view and it just felt comfortable. It felt like home straight away. It didn't matter what the house looked like, it was the view. It was very similar to that one that I'd grown up with. And I think that whilst objects can stop you in your place, a landscape that you're incredibly familiar with, you can pass by every day, and you don't bat an eyelid, and then the lighting can be in such a way that it just stops you in your tracks, just as an object would. So yeah, I think the whole idea of an object and a landscape, I think there's quite a lot of similarities there actually. Yeah.
And there could be landscape that it is an encounter. You can, as something that it can be, like, as you say, familiar one day and then unfamiliar the next day, or what's happening to that landscape. So, a landscape, the environment changes constantly through natural interaction, but also through human interaction. So is there any other questions or anything anyone wants to say? Sorry. Can you unmute? Sorry, I don't know your name. It just says iPhone. I can see your mouth moving. You, yeah.
One moment while he gets technical support.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can now. Sorry, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Colin Williams.
Oh, good you got through, because I saw your message.
Yeah, I struggled. It's my first time on Zoom, so I had to get help, and I'm still, at least I got here in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was interested in what you were saying. I was just I was thinking about flags, and the reason I was thinking about flags is because I was born in Wales, but my mother's from Northern Ireland, and I'd go back and forth to Northern Ireland, and I went to do my master's in Northern Ireland, and flags are kind of innocent things in a way, but when I was in Northern Ireland, I became aware that they're very loaded. So the United Kingdom flag, which is the Union Jack in Wales, is blue from lampposts and everywhere around certain areas which are predominantly Protestant, and then there'd be opposite flags that are shown in predominantly Catholic areas. They'd have the green, white and gold Republican Ireland. And I go between North America and Wales, and I've met several Native American artists, and they're not represented in the United States of America flag. So I started making paintings on these. I've been thinking about flags from Wales too, and working on the idea of identity and the landscape through flags, which are can be pretty loaded when they're looked into. I hardly noticed them at all when I was growing up. Really, I noticed them, but I didn't think about them. It's only recently that I've started thinking about identity and colonialism and all sorts of things. Yeah, so that's why I'm interested in kind of listening and being part of whatever's to come out of this.
Yeah. Well, identity is a big kind of part of land, isn't it?
Yeah.
Culture and your identity, and we have a lot invested in it, but it's also how we treat the land kind of reflects how we are as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the language too, I guess it's kind of a difficult one for you mentioned earlier about the language exclusion. Yeah, the kind of I sometimes almost feel like I'm a citizen and a foreigner within Wales. You know, it's interesting thought.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was only just thinking about it again because I was writing back to you. I haven't finished putting it all down, but you know, it kind of occurred to me there that, you know, that's a good part of what I feel at times, both and foreigner. You know, I could almost feel a work coming up from. I'm not sure if that's a fit with what you're doing. I missed the beginning. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put the talk up online so you can rewatch it. So, Catherine, are you asking a question?
No, sort of a response, really. Sorry, I didn't catch the man's name just then. Colin, yeah. Just when you mentioned flags, I immediately, because I'm involved in a protest currently, and a large part of that protest has been our flags that we've been placing on the land that we're trying to protect. So it's kind of that idea, and then I realised you were talking about, you know, nationalist flags. But just that sort of claiming of a piece of land. I mean, for us, it's sort of about marking it and protecting it, but there is that element of kind of staking a claim and putting that thing, an added object in the landscape that's saying, this is ours, this is mine, or yeah. So I've got kind of different flags in my head when you were saying that.
Yeah, I probably had similar flags to you, Catherine.
Yeah, prayer flags.
Flags.
Yeah, I was also just going back to what you were saying about objects and landscape and stuff earlier, and with a lot of my work, I kind of take objects, I take a piece of the landscape and it becomes an object, separate, but it is initially a part of the landscape and then it becomes something other. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wind this up now because we haven't got much more time. We've got about 5 more minutes of the meeting. So with this project, it's going to go for another 6 months. It was 9 months, but I've kind of spent a few months getting it into order. And there'll be an exhibition, a curated exhibition in June at the School of Art, and we're hoping to find other venues. So, and at the moment, I'm just opening it up to everyone to join, and then it will kind of narrow down to the group who will be in the exhibition. And I'm hoping that the more people that join, the more we will learn about how people are using the land, reacting to it, thinking about it, and experiencing it. So yeah. So if you're interested, if you haven't already contacted me, or you have, and we haven't had a decent conversation, just let me know. So the whole project will consist of retreats at Maylor. I'll be having them once a month for about 5 months, and then and also online discussions, because not everyone will be able to come to the retreats. So there's going to be online groups as well. So yeah. At 9 o'clock we have Julie Uppmeyer. So the 3 artists who are here today is Julie Uppmeyer, who's from America. She's lived in Wales for about 4 years. Yeah, and she's established a place called Place Vodva up on Ynys Môn, and she's developing that into a kind of, anyway, she can explain it more when it's her
How are
turn.
you two? It's great.
And then there's Emma Jane Holmes, who lives over near Laughlin, who is probably more a traditional landscape painter. She, not really traditional, but she does do landscape painting. And then we have Abby Paulson. So Emma and Abby will be talking tomorrow. Abby is kind of a film photographic installation artist from down near Carmarthen. Yeah. And she was born here in Wales, and she speaks fluent Welsh, which is really grand to have a Welsh speaker on the project as well. So the next residency will be at the start of December, where it'll be a printmaking residency, so it'll be all printmakers. And Molly Brown, who I can see there, will be joining us on Friday. So some people are coming in for just 1 day or 2 days during the retreats. Anyway, so I'll hang up before, sorry, I've only got, like the free version of Zoom, so we can't keep going, but I'll hang up, and I hope you'll join us at 9 o'clock to listen to Julie give a little talk about herself and what she is expecting from the project, where she thinks it's going to go for her. So I look forward to seeing you all again in about 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.